The meeting of the Shreveport City Council now called to order.
She's prepared for the ordinance.
We will have a prayer by Miss Mary Trammell, and we will have Councilman Fleury to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
All we ask is Mary, tell what district she is.
No. Will you please join me in bowing your heads? Our Father, my God, we thank you for this time. We pray that the commitment made today and all of the different decisions will be done decently and in order. Bless every councilman and every person that's represented here as they represent this great city of Shreveport. Bless our mayor and all of the people that represents with her. And Lord God, thank you and keep you, and bless the children of Caddo and everyone that's assembled. In your name we pray and say, Amen.
Amen. Please join with me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilman Everson.
Here.
Councilman Jenkins.
Present.
Councilman Corbin. Councilman Fleury. Councilwoman Lynch. Here. And Councilman Bowman.
Here. I have a motion to approve the minutes for the administrative.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by the Vice Chair, second by Councilman Bradford. Please vote. Does any council member have any, I'm sorry, motion passed 7-6, one was out of the chamber? Does any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests?
Mr. Chairman.
On the minutes, I believe we had an amendment also.
Amendment to the minutes? Oh, apparently.
And amendment to the April 25th.
Okay, then I'll make a motion on the amendment. Second.
Been moved by the.
The vote is still up.
It's still up,
So
so
if you want to include it in this. Can they do this?
I'm modifying my motion to be on the amendment.
Make
them separate motions.
Okay.
I'm making.
That one passed 7-0, and on the amendment, motion was made by the Vice Chair and seconded by Councilman Bradford. Please vote. Motion carries 7.
So that means that the original is adopted with the amendment as well.
Yes, sir.
That's correct. The amendment to the April 25th, 2017 minutes is adopted.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Does any council member have any awards, recognition, or distinguished guests they would like to have? Councilwoman Lynch?
Yes, I wanted to make a motion to suspend the rules to take up resolutions 32 and 35.
Second.
My special guests.
Second motion.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Lynch, seconded by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
It makes it clear why we have such an august audience today.
And the motion carries for 7.
Good afternoon. I am Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch. In 1987, the U.S. Congress designated March as National Women's History Month, creating special opportunities in our schools, workplaces, and communities to recognize and celebrate the achievements of American women. This year's theme, Nevertheless She Persisted, presents an opportunity for me as the co-state director for the National Foundation for Women Legislators and as the only female elected official on the Shreveport City Council to join NFWL and my colleagues on the council in recognizing the accomplishments of elected women in our city and parish. Through them, we also honor the persistence of our mothers, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, neighbors, and friends who have brought positive change to our city, state, and nation. We thank our parents, especially our mothers and our fathers. We thank our husbands, partners, and significant others. We thank our fellow public officials. And we thank the voting public, without whom none of us would be here today. So today it is my honor to sponsor the following resolution recognizing March 19, 2018 as Celebrating Women in Public Office Day. I will be joined by phenomenal women today who are also public officials in our city and parish. And I'm going to, as I read the resolution, so I'm going to ask them to come now and introduce themselves as they come. Name and position. Don't be shy. Yes, of course, beginning with our Honorable Mayor, Ali Tyler.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lynch. My name is Ali Tyler, and I'm the mayor of the great city of Shreveport.
My name is Mary Trammell, and I'm the school board member for District 6 in this great city of Shreveport.
I'm Sandy Duncan. I am an alderman in the village of Belcher, the great village of Belcher.
And I'm Dottie Bell, school board member for District 12, and the great, great parish and city. I represent both.
Good afternoon. I'm Pamela Tier. I'm a judge at Shreveport City Court Division C.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Barkshat, and I'm Alderman, Oil City District 4. Thank you.
Great day, everyone. Thank you, Councilman Lynch, our honorable mayor, and to all of my elected women who are here that totally rock. I am Caddo Parish Commissioner, the only woman on the commission of District 7. Thank you.
My commissioner.
Good afternoon. Thank you, you wonderful God-sent people, for inviting me. My name is Benita Dozard. I represent District 5, Kettle Parish School. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone assembled. Thank you again, Ms. Lynch, for inviting us. My name is Amelia Stewart. I am Alderwoman from the town of Oil City, District 3.
Y'all give them a hand. This is a resolution declaring March 19, 2018 as Celebrating Women in Public Office Day in the city of Shreveport. Whereas the month of March is Women's History Month and celebrates the significant contributions of women of all races, ethnicities, and backgrounds have made to the world. And whereas women play a critical role in the vitality and diversity of our communities and are essential to ensuring that the opinions, perspectives, and desires of all citizens are well represented in legislative bodies and tribunals in the city of Shreveport and Caddo Parish. And whereas while the 20th century was a pivotal time of growth for women entering politics, women remain underrepresented in male-dominated fields, and thus providing opportunities to support women in public office is imperative. And whereas recognizing women in public office will bring awareness to the fundamental necessity of their work and will inspire other young people to serve their communities. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shreveport in due and regular and legal session convened that the Shreveport City Council hereby proclaims March 19th, 2018 to be Celebrating Women in Public Office Day and calls upon the people of the City of Shreveport to unite as we support the success of women in public office and observe every March 19th with appropriate activities, events, and programs. Thank y'all. We're going to take a quick picture.
Mr. Chairman, Council Leader Lynch. Okay, Council Leader Lynch.
Yes.
If you make the motion, I'll second that this be adopted.
So moved.
I second.
Moved by Councilwoman Lynch, seconded by Councilman Bradford. Please vote.
Punch mark. You have permission to punch mark. I vote yes. Okay. We're holding up various signs to. Yeah, I'm sorry. We ran out, Mayor.
What did the signs say?
Some says it's asking who inspired you to run for office, and for me, that's my grandmother,
motion
Evelyn
carries.
Scott Lewis.
Go this way, she said.
Yeah, let's stand.
Yes, back up.
Oh, read it. An alderman did not elect to run again, so I ran to take that alderman's place.
I was inspired by Lola Kendrick, my friends and my grandchildren to run for the school board.
As a teacher for 34 years, I could not get things done as a teacher. So I said, the things I didn't like, I said, let me run to the school board and change some things. And I always say, need something done? Elect a woman.
I was inspired by most of my students, and I told them they will see me again. And I told them to, whatever they do, be sure and vote. Also, I want to say women were born religious leaders, servants who take care of the home, family, church, and community. I chose to be in public office because the Heavenly Father has implemented love, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. The Holy Spirit will lead and guide me in the right direction to do what is pleasing to Him.
Actually, when I first ran, I was considering running. I was turning 40. And I knew something drastic was going to happen for my 40th birthday. I said to my friends, I said, I'm either going to get married or run for public office. I chose the lesser of two evils. So here I am today, 18 years later. But certainly, my grandmother, Evelyn Scott Lewis, probably had the most profound influence on me in not necessarily running for office, but being entrusted with taking care of others. So my grandmother is my inspiration for running.
I actually was appointed and made history all at the same time for the town of Oil City, the first African American woman to ever serve on the council, and the youngest. I like that. Actually inspired by Miss Marie Hines as my godmother. She always encouraged us to make a difference wherever you are. And even if it is in Oil City, you make a difference there. So I'm thank God for the opportunity. And my statement is I celebrate women in public office because we give hope to the future generations.
Okay, I actually consider myself as a public servant. I was inspired by my parents to serve whenever and wherever there was a need.
Well, I was inspired by my daughter, Amber Latier, and a lot of the women in our community inspired me as well to run for Shreveport City Court, and I did.
Well, mine says nothing about inspiration. It just talks about being a woman and how hard it is being a woman. And being women, it is twice as hard. But if you want the job done right, we work twice as hard. My inspiration comes from so many women. I have been blessed to have some invaluable women that has been a part of my history, a part of my life. My great-grandmother was a carpenter in Shreveport in the Moortown area that still houses still stand today that she built. I was raised as a public servant. My mother and father both were always a part of history in Shreveport. They always reached out to others, and I grew up wanting to serve. After working for myself for over 16 years, I decided to step out on faith and put my hand to the plow and become a public servant, doing what I love, and that is loving people. I'm very proud to see all of these women stand up here encouraging one another, because that is the strength that we need. We have so much going on in our world today, but together we can. This is not the end of us. This is only the best of us, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
My inspiration, I guess, came from my family, mainly my father, but I was raised military, so we have served our country through our family throughout many, many years. My father has inspired me since I lost my mother young, but my father, the community had come to me and talked to me, women come to me, men come to me. I work in the oil field, and as well do I work on city council, so I get to listen to both sides, all the hardworking men and women, and all the hardworking people in town. So I get to listen to all of those that have concerns that would like for me to be able to speak up. And as women, we do speak our mind, and we do speak what needs to be said. So we do bring it forward when it needs to happen. And it has been a godsend for me, and God has been good to me. And absolutely all of these women have been wonderful. They have been a wonderful inspiration to me. And that's my story.
All righty.
We want to thank you for making sure this resolution was prepared and offered as a covering for all the women in politics in this great city.
We have Judge Carolia Stewart and Justice Jacqueline Scott. Introduce yourself in this role and then what inspired you to run for office.
Good afternoon. I am Carolia Stewart. I'm District Court Judge in Family Court right down the road. I enjoy making a difference and inspiring children and families to want to be better and do better each day. It is a tough job. It's a difficult job, but I know that God has not put more on me than I can handle, and so I enjoy it. I enjoy my work, and I enjoy just making a difference each day as at a time, as small or as big as it can be each day. It's a very rewarding job.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Scott, better known as Justice Jackie. I'm also in a position that I want to make a difference in the community. I have Cajun Court TV, and now I will be directing my attention toward domestic violence, as well as so much violence within the community. And I'm happy to be here.
You as judge of the people. Elected. That's how I'm gonna do it next time. Okay, have a race or nothing like that. Well, y'all give everyone a hand.
While they're making their way back to their seats, I will say, even as a guy, I have had the privilege of working for female elected officials, and then I have worked, alongside elected officials, both male and female, obviously. And I can attest to what Ms. Stormy Watts, Commissioner, said, is that sometimes people are a little tougher on the women in certain ways, certain things that they say. And so I applaud all of you for doing what it takes to get the job done, and for being great partners in all that we do to help our communities. We thank you.
Okay. The second resolution under consideration is just for Women's History Month, and I want to recognize the Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission that's here with us today as well.
Y'all stand up.
Give them a hand. And I'm going to ask the president to come and at least give us some words. Come on. As she's coming, I'm going to read this resolution, and I'll be making a motion to pass this resolution. It's a resolution proclaiming March 2018 as Women's History Month in the city of Shreveport. Whereas the 2018 National Women's History theme, Nevertheless She Persisted, presents the opportunity to honor women who have shaped America's history and its future. And whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life in America, lending their collective voices to forge a more equal society for all. And whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have nevertheless persisted to bring about positive change in their fight for voting and reproductive rights, gender equality, equal pay, quality health care, as well as an end to human trafficking and suffering, and the many intersecting forms of discrimination based upon race, ethnicity, class, disability, or sexual orientation. And whereas women comprise nearly half of the American workforce, and they are increasingly among the most skilled. This increasing participation has bolstered the growth and prosperity of our nation. And whereas many women leaders are securing not only a seat at the table, but also at the head table at major corporations, governing bodies, and in once male-dominated professions in the public and private sector, from CEOs to the U.S. Senate, and as first responders, construction workers, and IT professionals. And whereas these contributions and others widen the circle of opportunity for women and girls across the country and inspire them to reach for new and even greater heights, knowing they stand on the shoulders of all those who have come before as they proudly carry on their legacy of achievement. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shreveport in due regular and legal session convened that the Shreveport City Council designates and proclaims March 2018 as Women's History Month in the City of Shreveport. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Lynch, second by Councilman Bradford. Please vote.
This is the Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission.
Good evening. My
carries
name
with
is
seven.
Ozella Crowder, and I am the president of the Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Gray Jacobs, and I'm the vice president.
Good afternoon. I'm Laurie McGehee. I'm the immediate past president and current secretary of the Mayor's Women's Commission.
I am Liberta Jameson Myers, a public servant.
I am Brenda Crosby, a very new member of the Shreveport Commission, Women's Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Corinne Ambler. I am the treasurer of the Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm Deanna Bobeff. I'm a very new member of the Shreveport Women's Mayor's Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm Belinda Robertson, and I am also a new member of the Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission.
I'm going to say a little about the events that we had, the activities we had last week. The Shreveport Mayor's Women's Commission celebrated our National Women's Week. It began with our kickoff breakfast with the Harris Awards presentations on Monday. Our Cora M. Allen luncheon and fashion show was on Friday. Also, we recognized our 8th grade essay contest winners and the contestants. We finalized the celebration with our Young Women's Summit with the theme Trafficking Awareness on Saturday. We had a very good turnout on all of the events, and we're very proud of what we did. Thank you.
Mayor Tyler, I'm going to ask you to come down to take a picture. Mayor Tyler with the commission for today.
And I would like to inform you, as chairman of the essay contest, that the first place winner wrote on mayor, on our mayor. Congratulations, Mayor.
Nobody will be surprised. I won a door prize, and it was a set of wine glasses. All righty, one last special treat to all women here, public officials, Women's Commission, Miss Angelique Feaster Evans, in the true spirit of Ken Kraft, is going to recite a poem to all the phenomenal women here today and in our audience that are watching and that who will be going back when they don't have anything else to do than watching this council meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Councilwoman Lynch, for the opportunity to present Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder, where my secrets lie. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I try and show them, they think I'm telling lies, but I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride in my steps, the curl of my lips. I am a woman. Phenomenal woman. That's me. I can walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to the men the fellows stand or fall to their knees, and they just swarm around me like a hive of honeybees. I say it's in the fire of my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, and the joy in my feet. I am a woman. Phenomenal woman. That's me. Now, men themselves have wondered just what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. And when I try and show them, they say they can't see, but I say it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the rod of my breast, and the grace of my style, because I am a woman. Phenomenal woman. That's me. So now you understand just why my head is not bowed. I don't have to shout or run about or have to talk real loud. But when you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. For it is in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, and the need for my care. I am a woman. Phenomenally. Phenomenally woman. That's every woman and me. Thank you.
Make a motion to go back into regular session.
All right. Councilman.
Yeah, we clear. We back to
No. Councilman Jenkins.
Just making an announcement, the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association is having their monthly meeting tonight, 6 p.m. The speaker will be Tony LeBlanc, talking about, he's from Caddo Parish Homeland Security, talking about active shooter protocols. That takes place at Broadmoor Presbyterian Church, 1915 Grover. And I may understand there's a special guest tonight. Mary, are you speaking tonight or next month? Next month. A little premature then. Let me take that back. Sorry about that. No special guest then. Okay, thank you.
That's it. Okay, Councilman Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take a moment and recognize the passing of Mr. Augustus Majalis. Mr. Majalis was quite a colorful character and certainly carried a big political influence in Northwest Louisiana for many years. And for any elected official who was summoned to his office, you knew the moment you walked in why you were there. But then the stories that followed for the next hour were quite enjoyable. And he will certainly leave a big empty spot. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I would like to call up for a brief moment Ms. Stacy Brown. If she would enlighten us for a few minutes on something I think that would be very beneficial for Shreveport.
Thank you, Chairman Bowman. Mayor Tyler, I appreciate y'all allowing me to come before you for just a few moments today to talk a little bit about the potential of hosting the Miss USA and the Miss Teen USA pageants here in Shreveport. This is a tremendous opportunity that would provide great media value, significant direct economic impact, as well as long-term benefits to our community through increased tourism and awareness of our area as a great place to live and to do business. This will be the first time that Miss USA and Miss Teen USA have been held concurrently in the same city during the same 2-week time period. So it would give us an opportunity to host both pageants to provide an even greater economic impact. There will be a great economic impact not only for our local businesses, but immediate impact, but also return impact as people see us on television and through the media and want to come to Shreveport-Bossier and see all the things that we have to offer and experience our great food and wonderful people. We will see that residual effect as well. Of course, in order to host something of this magnitude, it does take the entire community. So we are looking to the Shreveport City Council to support this event, as well as the other parishes, the cities, as well as individuals to come about and promote our area as a whole. This event will pay for itself in direct tax revenue, as well as that great overall economic impact. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Stacy, oh, I'm sorry. I will just say I gave a brief comment about this in the media, and do you know somebody from a private company called me and said, hey, I just want to make sure that I can sponsor that. So I'm just writing down the name of the person who
Awesome.
called to say they might be interested in sponsoring, so I can pass that on to you. Certainly there was a positive response that I heard from, from people about it. I think it was something people were excited about having the opportunity to host. So I
Wonderful.
appreciate the opportunity, being brought to us. I know that it takes flexibility and focus to be able to score one of these opportunities, and just want to thank all of those that played a part in making sure that Shreveport was a viable choice for that. So thank you, Mayor, thank you, Stacy, and everybody else who played a part in making sure that we could be in the running.
Councilman
Yes.
Bradford.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for coming and sharing that information. I know that you and the mayor has been in conversation. Where are we, and what exactly can this body do to assist in moving this forward?
There would be a financial commitment.
Okay.
However, I've been able to show that you would receive that in direct tax dollars from the event. Not only will they be coming to our community for about a 2 to 3 week period, they will be spending the night in hotels. They will be eating meals, and this is a huge production. So it would be over 40,000 or over 4,000 hotel room nights. Most of those by the direct event itself, not including the extra people that would be coming in to view the events.
Now, these pageants, they're not on the same night, or are they concurrently?
No, there will actually be 4 events.
4 events.
There will be a prelim for each Miss Teen and Miss USA, as well as finals for Miss Teen and Miss USA.
Okay.
So there will be 4 ticketed events that people can go to, as well as other special events.
Sounds great, Mayor. I appreciate you. How is your?
What we are going to do, because we have the economic development dollars that have already been approved, we're going to provide those dollars toward our portion with the other governmental entities. And you've already approved that for economic development, and we see this as an economic development opportunity.
I concur. I see it as an economic development opportunity as well. So trusting that we can move forward and host this great opportunity and event.
Yes.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lynch.
What time period are we anticipating knowing for sure?
We're pulling all the partners together. We should know later this week or early next week.
Okay, great. Do you know what other cities are vying?
There were a number of cities that they were talking with, but we were able, I believe, to pull together a great package for them to look at.
What was the last part?
We were able to pull together a great package for them to consider.
Oh, okay.
So the competition is over. So the competition is over. This is
No, I
preferred city.
I think she's saying we'll find out for sure later this week or early next week.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think maybe she's just hesitant to say who the competition is.
Oh, is that what I missed
Yes,
that part?
yes. I mean, I'm just saying
Which
my
would be-
interpretation. I mean, I don't know.
And that's very prudent of her. I would agree with that.
Okay. Thank you.
And actual dates of the event is when?
The finals of the Miss USA competition would be May the 21st. That is a Monday, and it would be televised live on Fox.
Labor Day? That's not very long. Okay.
You still got time to get your costume and everything else set. If you got great entry.
And we will.
I'll be there. I don't know.
If we're able to move forward with this opportunity, we will be looking for sponsors, of course, but also a lot of volunteers to help make it happen.
Anything else, Councilwoman Lynch?
No,
Thank you so much, Ms. Stacy, for bringing that forth with us.
It's exciting.
Just hope we be in the making. That's it.
Thank you, Chairman Bowman, Mayor,
Thank you,
Council.
Ms. Brown.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Any other council member have any special guests or awards?
Well, just briefly, it just seems like it would be a missed opportunity while we're recognizing a lot of the women in the room, and I do see that both Linda Bernacki and Ty Scroggins are out there in the audience, both of whom have been recognized in the past very deservingly so for their leadership roles in our community, and I don't know if they are going to be recognized later on or not, but I just saw them and it said it would be absurd if we didn't recognize them real quickly, so thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I concur those same sentiments. Mayor Tyler, you have any awards or special recognitions?
I just have announcements,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chairman. The announcements are, Mr. Chairman and council members and those citizens who are watching us today and those who are here with us today, let me just say that all of the women in this room and around this city are phenomenal women. And so with that said, we'll go on with our announcements. Mr. Chairman, a press release was sent from our office on yesterday, but I'd like to mention once again how excited we are that the U.S. Department of Interior and National Park Service announced Monday that the city of Shreveport will receive $500,000 for physical preservation of the old Galilee Missionary Baptist Church for a civil rights museum. More than $12 million in grants were awarded for 51 projects in 24 states. Shreveport's project was one of 4 in Louisiana to receive grant funding to preserve sites and highlight stories related to the African American struggle for equality in the 20th century. Shreveport, of course, received the largest grant issued within the state of Louisiana. And I want to say thank you to Mrs. Bunny Moore, who led the effort, and actually she writes a lot of grants. We have tasked each department to look for funding on the state and federal level, even from different foundations, to bring those resources to our city so that we can serve the citizens in this great city. Ms. Moore, please stand, and will you help me give her a round of applause? She did a great job. Once again, she is a phenomenal woman. Second announcement. Council members, you will find at your places an invitation to the ribbon-cutting ceremony at Valencia Park next week, which is in Councilman Jeff Efferson's district. That event will be held at 4 p.m. at the Community Center. The renovations include a new basketball gymnasium, a new arts and crafts room, a new computer lab, a new multi-purpose room, exercise and dance rooms, as well as a new CLO office. And I want to tell you, this is an exciting project, and it's one more project that Ms. Regal Wood, who's not with us today, led that effort, and she continues to do that, trying to improve services in our city. Following the ribbon cutting, of course, we'll have a community meeting to inform residents in that area about the April 28th election. We will discuss the continuation of the 6 propositions which will allow us to continue to provide basic city services. We will be doing several of those type meetings at our community centers in each of your respective council districts. So we will host this week at 6 p.m. Thursday at A.P. Palmer Community Center. So anybody who want to come, and if you have council members, places that you'd like for us to assist you with presentations, please let us know. I want to thank our city departments that worked to ensure the safety of our citizens during the recent flooding. The fire, police, SPAR, public works, water and sewerage, engineering, and so many others stepped up and were ready to move into action as we anticipated the rise of the Red River. Our parks along the river are still closed. I want to thank those who were able to join us last week as we honored our dedicated men and women of the Shreveport Police and Shreveport Fire Departments. Also last week, the Women's Commission kicked off National Women's History Month with a week-long slate of events, and I think you've heard about those today. Thank you again, Councilwoman Lynch, for your recognition. We also had the opportunity last week to meet with the advisory group for our upcoming Financial Empowerment Center. Again, Mrs. Bunny Moore heads that group, which is charged with determining the scope for strategies and initiatives to help alleviate some of the poverty in our community. We were fortunate enough to have been selected to replicate the proven Financial Empowerment Center under the new FEC Public National Platform. Shreveport will receive technical assistance and a seed grant to bring free, high-quality one-on-one financial counseling to our residents. The programs for this fund are supported by an investment from Bloomberg Philanthropies as part of their American Cities Initiative. We have already received $20,000 for planning purposes. Once we have the plan developed, we can secure an additional $250,000. And those are the announcements that we have for today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Tyler.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I would be remiss if we did not express our appreciation to the mayor for those announcements, especially the awarding of the grant to renovate the Old Galilee as a civil rights museum. That's great news. In addition to the one that you gave us last time regarding the C.C. Antoine house. So, Mayor, how do you see this proceeding as relates to? Because I saw maybe a year or so ago that there were already architecture drawing of the proposed renovation. Is that still on the table, or do we need to modify that?
Well, and let me tell you, I don't have all the details, Mr. Councilman, but one of the things I can tell you, with the North Louisiana Civil Rights Coalition,
sure.
For the old Galilee Missionary Baptist Church building, they decided not to tear the building down, but to repurpose it. And we are going to be working hand in hand with them. I did meet with them about 2.5 years ago, and they are also undergoing some fundraising to help us complete the repurposing of that building. And this is one of the phases. And of course, we continue to look for grant dollars, and they're going to be doing fundraising themselves. But if you want some more details, I can call up Ms. Moore. I think she probably has knowledge of what will happen next, or when we meet back with the coalition, they'll have more details. We don't know all of the plans, but we do this in partnership with them. Ms. Moore, can you come up, please?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. You may not be aware, about 3 years ago, an additional $85,000 was appropriated by the council to do Phase 2 planning. As a result of that, what we'll do is initiate planning for a conceptual design and preliminary design as our first start before we expend any of the $500,000. What happened during the first phase was that the coalition, again, as Mayor Tyler indicated, decided that they did not want to demolish the facility. As a result of that, we did complete some plans, and they were conceptual. We will take those conceptual plans and take variations for that plan and try to salvage as much of that as possible to integrate it in the new planning process. Mayor Tyler did not want to use those $85,000 unless there was a sure plan going forward. As a result of this award, we will be able to at least stabilize the facility. We can put a roof on it, we can do the floors, we can keep it from further deteriorating.
And I want to be clear, because I heard something that I thought I heard, but maybe didn't hear, that the custodian of the grant is the city or the coalition?
City of Shreveport.
The city of Shreveport.
Yes, it's city.
Okay. And that whatever movement that they do as relates to securing additional revenue to help these projects, that would come under the auspices of the city or the coalition?
Well, the city will be responsible for
The city will be
rehabilitating the
overall
facility.
conveyor
Yes.
of whatever happens to that building.
Correct.
But in terms of their operations, I mean, I think the coalition still has, the ability to operate,
The programming.
and raise funds, and do whatever. That's they're an independent organization that's a partner on this particular project. So, I think this grant, though, is a little bit more specific in how it can be applied towards
Absolutely.
the project, which in a good. And part of what made me so happy, not only to see the grant funding, but to see what it was for and how it's obligated to be used, because it's appropriate, and what I think everyone wants is to help stabilize and maintain this important site so that future generations can see and experience what was actually there. I know there had been some discussion kind of leaning towards the idea of recreating or repurposing the space, but it just seemed like such a shame to lose the site, and so it is exciting to see that this grant would really help with that. And sorry to I just kind of jumped in as a response on something, but I would like to, while I've got the floor, also just express my support in the idea of, where possible, if we can use historic tax credits at the state level and then remarket those. I think this is a good opportunity for that, and where we on the council can be supported, please let us know. I think it's a great,
let you know.
great way to take some grant and make it go a little further than what it already did. Thank you.
Since Councilman made this remarks, let me just give you my desire. My desire is that as we move forward in the construction phase, that we will certainly consider minority contractors for some of the work that's going to be done using our fair share apparatus.
Yes. And that's certainly part of our mandate.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. City.
You finished?
Property standards. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Green? He's back. Seeing none, before he makes it up here. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Crawford, we got your revenue collection plan on yesterday.
You did.
And Mr. Bradford, we received yours also. Mr. Thompson, is there any legislation to be added?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
By the way, Brian, weren't you a little surprised that we got that at 8 o'clock in the morning on the day after the first day of the month?
Yeah, the taxes come in for that month are actually from the preceding month, and they have to be turned in by the 22nd of the month that's being reported. So they've been gathering those since the 22nd.
I didn't know the 22nd.
22nd is the date, so they've been gathering those since then. So I actually think they could come a little bit sooner.
Okay,
but
I
get them
I
on the first.
assumed that they had to have them in by the 28th, and I was like, how they could get the numbers
22nd.
by 8 o'clock
Yeah,
in the
that would-
morning.
that
I
would
was
be
pretty
really quick.
impressed with that. Yeah, it was like they put an all-nighter to get us. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thompson, is there any legislation to be added?
There's one resolution to allocate funds to specific not-for-profit organizations from funds budgeted and other charges in the Riverfront Development Special Revenue Fund.
Is there anyone present here to speak in favor or against this? Anyone present?
If I could just point of information, just to let y'all know, I did get a chance to talk with a few folks today, but not everyone. But this is my effort to kind of get this process rolling. You know, this process is a little bit slower and on a different time frame than the old process was, and so sometimes I think when I looked at the calendar, I realized it might be good if we went ahead and got this introduced. I still plan on calling a Riverfront before committee meeting to review these and take the recommendations of that committee meeting to give to the council. But in the interim, I wanted to go ahead and get something introduced. So that is what you see before you right now. So anticipate that this will change, before final passage, but wanted to go ahead and get this introduced.
Okay. Councilwoman Lynch?
Let me ask, does this have to have amounts attached to it?
I mean, I just pulled past legislation
Yeah.
that
No,
had
I'm
been
just- my
done
question,
and
yeah. Do we
echoed
have-
what it had, So, again, I mean, I put amounts in there, but anticipate those could change or stay the
I mean,
same.
for it to be on the agenda, does it have to have amounts attached to it? Is my
If it's
question.
appropriating a number, then it would need to have an amount. And I think the resolution allocates funds.
Remember, it's in our budget,
Yeah,
the
it's in
total
budget.
body, and then it doesn't have the breakout of what that is going to in an individual basis.
Okay, I guess my only question would be, these have not gone to committee, so it's just a fill-in amount,
Mhm.
basically?
Mhm.
Can we just make them all the same?
I
Whatever
mean,
that is?
I'm comfortable with whatever. I'm only looking at Art and them to see, I don't know if we need something written or
Would
what.
a written amendment to it. But your first motion is, will it be added to the agenda? And then you'd have to make the amendment in writing and then vote on the amendment to change those numbers.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I'm certainly friendly to. I mean, again, it's a placeholder type thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I anticipate no matter what,
yeah.
we'll have an amendment in place before we vote on it. So, I mean,
Right.
whether we do it now or later, I'm comfortable either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I just like them, so it doesn't seem like we're going to do this for this one, this for this one, just to put them all at the same amount, because it's just a placeholder.
Mhm.
So if that's, whatever that is, as long as it's within, I don't know how much money it is, but, just a placeholder number, put them all the same.
130,000 was budgeted.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, it could be $1. I mean, it's just a placeholder, I guess.
That's correct.
So I think what she's saying is, so in the full fund that's in the budget, there's 130,000. I think what I drafted up there, if I remember right, maybe allocates maybe 96 or 97,000, something like that. It was just kind of a loose number that I threw together, and I just kind of pulled numbers from past years and roughly hit the same number. But maybe I think what Stephanie is saying is maybe if all of them said 10,000 or something, just to indicate it's a placeholder. Am I hearing you right?
Yes.
Is that what you want? Okay. So I think maybe she's saying just if all of them had the same number.
So you want us to redo the resolution?
That's why I added an amendment.
Well, why don't, if this is going, let me just make a suggestion. If it's going to be added, take a vote on adding the legislation to the agenda. Once you deliberate on the legislation, this is only up for introduction.
Well, it can be adopted.
It's a one reader?
It's a one reader.
Oh, it's just a one reader?
Then we'll
Yes.
need either postponement.
If it's just
I
a one
recommend
reader, I'll
somebody
pull
vote-
it. I mean,
yeah,
I
vote it
thought
down
I was
and then
only
we can
introducing
start
it
it.
because I thought it was going
The
to
money has
require
already
two
been
readings.
budgeted.
It's appropriated. Right.
Well, let's pull it then, and I'll introduce it at the next meeting. I was thinking that it was going to require two readings, but let's just pull it then, and we'll go ahead and call that Riverfront meeting and do that. So I'm comfortable. Thank y'all for doing that, for getting that on there. But yeah, we'll just pull it and then discuss it at the committee meeting before we introduce it.
Sounds good.
So that should work out better.
Okay. Councilwoman Lynch, you still have the floor?
Oh, no, I'm done, thank you.
Councilman Bradford, did you still need to speak?
No, I think Councilman Everson's remarks in pulling it to coming for the committee would be appropriate.
Okay. With that being said, then, before we get into the agenda, I would like to, one more person, I would like to call up Mr. Richard Lamb, the chairman of the...
One point of order. Do we need to do anything?
It's not on the agenda, so
So we
he
just
pulled
leave
it,
it
and
where it is.
it's not going to be added.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just let it sit.
Mr. Richard Lamb from Skyport.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I have with me Alan Brown. First off, I'm Rich Lamb. I'm the chairman of the board of Shreveport. I'm an attorney when I work, and but I became chairman of the board in December. I have Alan Brown, our director of educational outreach, and we have Greg Andrews, who is the head of our planetarium. And these guys do a bunch of other things that I'm going to let them share. Mostly what I'm here to do is tell you what's going on, answer any questions you might have. This is not a request for money. Exciting news, we reopened one of our larger attractions within Shreveport on March 1st with a skeleton staff. We waited a long time to reopen with that skeleton staff until we had guaranteed funds to cover our payroll for a period of time that we were comfortable with, so we weren't relying on admissions. And we got private donors, and the Downtown Shreveport Development Corporation have backed us, so we have guaranteed funding for a certain period of time. During that time, over 1,000 people have come through in 8 days. And so that is 125 people a day, and that's just for our POP, our Power of Play. We reopened IMAX the first week of April. How are we able to do that? IMAX gave us a free movie with free marketing materials, and so we're now able to responsibly open up that part of the Science Museum. And the same employees we have now, without hiring any more people and controlling our payroll, we're able to do this. And so we're starting with that, and then we're going to slowly reopen the rest of it as we're comfortable with our plans and as we have guaranteed funding in place. This is not going to be a situation where we build it and hope people show up. We're not going to do that. And so it's going to be slow, but it's going to be methodical, and it's going to be well thought out and well planned. And so we're very pleased with who showed up. The big thing is we have memberships, which we are honoring, but those memberships were paid last year or in prior years. Right now, 85 to 90% of our admissions are paying customers, which is very good for us. And so we're thrilled. We have construction walls where kids are writing "Why They Love Shreveport" on the construction wall. The responses are entertaining, inspiring, and things are going really well given what we were dealing with a while back. And so I'm going to let these two gentlemen explain what they've been doing. What a lot of people don't know is, despite the fact that we shut down the facility in September, we've had educational outreach still going on outside the facility. Local schools, branches of the Caddo Parish Library, places outside Caddo Parish. And I'm going to let Alan Brown, who's been handling that, explain what he's been doing.
So my name is Alan Brown. I'm the Director of Education and Programs at Shreveport. The women leaders earlier talked about their inspiration a little bit, and so I was just going to really quickly say my inspiration is I've got a 2-year-old, I've got a 7-year-old, and everything that I do at Shreveport indirectly I do because of them, and it's not because it's a great place to go when it's raining. You know, it's a great place for them to learn, but more important than that, you know, and they're there all the time. They were up there. One of them was up there all day Sunday. But the reason that I do what I do is because every boy and girl who walks through the door, I believe, may someday be the doctor who has to save their life, or will, you know, someday be the engineer that builds the rocket that carries them to Mars. Right. I truly believe that the child development, you know, with POP, you know, we're talking about the Power of Play Children's Museum. We've got kids in there from 6 months on up. And I do strongly believe that child development leads to workforce development. And that's what really inspires me. And as Rich was saying earlier, that's something that has inspired our outreach efforts as well. You know, one of the things that makes Shreveport so fantastic is that, you know, we do have our members who come in, and we see some of the same members. Oh, it's Thursday. You know, we better get up there for, you know, Fletcher's going to be up there. He's expecting to, you know, to do this or that or the other thing. But I think what really does make Shreveport special is a lot of the support that we've received from the community that has allowed us to reach so many students from Title I schools in the area. We get a tremendous amount of visitation that comes in there, and you know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the kid who someday saves my life, you know, he's not necessarily going to go to one of the magnet schools. He's not necessarily going to go to one of the private schools. He's just as likely to be a student at one of the traditionally underserved schools in the area. So I really do appreciate that. The other thing that we've been doing a lot of recently, we have done a lot of library outreach, and the library outreach that we've been doing has been patterned after a program that we've been doing for the last couple of years, at the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Work Reentry Facility. And there what we do is we work with the offenders who are going to be returning home soon, and we give them some of the techniques that we use to interest the kids who come to Sci-Port in science, because they are they're going to be going home and they're going to be reconnecting with their kids, and we think that it's really important not just that they promote a healthy learning environment when they go home, but also people do come to Sci-Port because it's fun. We teach them activities that will allow them to sort of reconnect with their kids. All of those activities are STEM and STEAM based. Those are going to be things like at Sci-Port we make our liquid nitrogen ice cream. We teach the offenders to make ice cream using half and half and some sugar and some ice and some rock salt and a couple of Ziploc bags. So it's all stuff that is easy to replicate at home, and it's such a great program that I guess about a year ago we decided, this is actually from the very beginning we realized this is such a great program, it's really a shame that you have to be incarcerated to take advantage of it. So we have been seeking funding. We received funding from the Beard Family Foundation that has allowed us to take this exact same program to. So far we've been to Cedar Grove Library, where we put on a 6-week session. We've been to the Wallette branch of the library. We've been to Oil City Elementary School. Right now that same session is going on at Turner Elementary School. It starts in about an hour or so. It's just a fantastic opportunity to extend our mission beyond the walls of Sci-Port. Sci-Port's a 92,000 square foot facility, but if we're talking about our mission of inspiring curiosity about our world around us, 92,000, it's a postage stamp on the world around us, and we do need parents' help. I need parents' help to make sure that their kid, if their kid is the one who's building that rocket, I want that kid well prepared. And so that's a little bit of what we've been doing over the last couple of years. In particular, it's what's been keeping us busy over the last few months while we haven't been able to welcome people to Sci-Port. I'm going to turn it over to Greg. Thank you. Greg.
Salutations, everybody. So, as was mentioned, I am the planetarium manager, but if you ever see me in the planetarium, I will not really call myself the planetarium manager. I have an unofficial title, and that unofficial title is the Supreme Emperor and Ruler of the Digital Universe, right? So I love it. You talked about inspiration. My inspiration growing up was Star Wars, right? Hence the title. I love Star Wars. I loved hearing about the dark side and using the Force and then lightsabers. And I was like, what can I do to have that type of power? So I got into physics, and I love it. At Sci-Port, one of the things I get to do is be able to talk to people, to be that voice in the darkness, if you will. It's a planetarium, so it's lights are off, I'm talking to people in the dark. So this is interesting for me because I get to now be in the light, talking to people of all ages, and it's a lot of fun for me. I will tell you one of the things that has been a learning process for me while being in POP has been the number of twins. I am actually an identical twin, and so I have been pretty much seeing twins come in every single day up there at POP, and that's been inspiring to me because I remember I was that one person at that young age going there to science centers and so on and so forth, though. So it's a lot of fun being there, and I enjoy being there, and it's, again, just I feel privileged and honored to be able to be around young ones at that age, being able to inspire them to grow up to be, as Anna mentioned, the next doctor, right? Or the next airplane pilot, or the person who finally invents a real lightsaber, right? Something like that along those lines. We might have the next council person in there, though. So that's my take on it, though. Thank you.
Mr. Andrews, may the force be with you.
May the force be with Sci-Port, more importantly. That's where we really need to.
I'd be happy if the lightsabers were manufactured here. That'd be what I hope to see come out of Sci-Port. Anyway, those guys, and I brought them here to tell you what they're doing, but one of our big holdups since November, and one of my big jobs as chairman, a lot of people don't realize that right now Sci-Port's management is by the volunteer board, who all have full-time jobs, and by the way, sit on boards of other charities. Not looking for sympathy, but the day-to-day nitty-gritty paperwork, stuff like that, we're doing where that was formerly handled by administrative staff. Since then, our staff has, these are people with great degrees, smart folks. They're cleaning bathrooms, they're feeding the animals. Individual directors are volunteering to work at special events for free. Several board members have brought personal checks up to ensure that payroll was met since that time. There's been a lot going on, and it's been very difficult. But our sole focus since, I'd say, late 2017 has been making sure these key employees are kept around. We laid off a bunch of people. That's no fun. But these are the folks that we can't replace. I can't go to the employment agency and say, hey, give me your best IMAX or planetarium operator. That just doesn't work that way. I'm a lawyer. We're very replaceable. But I can't replace those guys. And so now that we have those guys protected for the time being, and we're seeing the paying customers coming back and regularly, which is good, we have a lot more confidence, and now we're focusing on other aspects. What can I tell you about reopening the rest of Southport? Well, IMAX is opening up first week of April, and we're thrilled about that because that's a totally different demographic than the Children's Museum. The Power of Play Children's Museum is really designed for kids 8 and younger. And we limit older kids because they're bigger kids and, we're running into each other or things like that. But IMAX is going to attract people over the age of 8 and middle-aged people, senior citizens. So that's an extra demographic we're going to tap into, an extra revenue source that we're going to tap into without expending any more funds. And so we're going to be fairly boring as we reopen. We have some great plans where we're very proud of, but we're running more due diligence on them. One thing I can say is you can expect the rest of Southport to open up incrementally. There will not be one large grand opening where everything else is opened up at one time. We're going to take baby steps and crawl before we start walking and running. We're going to be real responsible with this. Our goal is to make a facility or create a facility that has the infrastructure that not only survives the current people that are working hard, but also that is sustainable for a long period of time and has a model that can survive what are tough times financially for a lot of different organizations. And so I'm coming here today mostly to let you all know what's going on, let you ask me any questions you might have, and to tell you where we are going forward with this important specialized facility downtown.
I appreciate you coming down, giving us that update. I have Councilman Bradford on the queue, and I'm sure Jeff would probably like to follow up behind Councilman Bradford.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney. Thank you for coming down and sharing those observations, because I wasn't aware, especially the outreach component of Southport.
Our marketing needs a lot of work. That's one of the things we're working on.
Yeah, and I'm especially pleased that you're going to start purposing that building again. I think a vacant building is never positive because it creates different things once there's no use to it. So we getting back in and doing things is great. But I was concerned, and I appreciate the optimism from your two guys that came up. But Southport was a very proud entity within our community. So many youngsters had opportunity, and adults had opportunity to visit there and do wholesome things. And I don't know what happened to cause it to create the downturn that eventually caused it to close. But how do you see sustaining this with the limited resources that you seem to be having coming forward, and not fall back into this quagmire of volume?
Sure.
And what challenges do you see that you could overcome?
Well, first off, one of the things that sunk Southport, and it's kind of like the financial crisis of 2008. There's all kinds of fingers that could be pointed, and it didn't happen overnight. One thing that was not sustainable was a payroll of over $2 million for many years in a row. That's massive. And there was a vacation policy that needed to be taken out, and that's what we did. And we had to shut down to completely restructure our payroll. And so the shutting down in September was a crucial part of that. The way we move forward is, one, to be more responsible in things like that. We do no good employing 72 people if it only needs 40, and we're putting the whole facility at risk. We're much better off, and don't hold me to 40, I'm using an example. We're much better off having fewer employees and being sustainable so those employees maintain those jobs. Also, finding things that remain relevant. You have to be real careful building something that's real expensive to build and to pay to take care of it, and to pay to staff it, and then you got to fix it eventually. There's life cycle budgeting that has to be contemplated in those things. And so it may be simplifying some of our exhibits because some things are easier to fix than others. Maybe we pass on some very expensive Mars exhibit and choose something less expensive or equally as neat, but it's easier to fix or can be fixed in-house. There's a bunch of things to consider, and there's so many moving parts at a facility like Shreveport that it's really hard for one group of people or one person to nail that down. So we have to be really careful when we look for an executive director. We have to be very careful as we reopen other parts of the facility. And we have to be very careful because a lot of the money we're using is not our own. With that being said, what's very important to understand is while the Shreveport Board of Directors has the legal right to make any decision at once, we still have to talk to donors because they're the ones that pay for it. We have to talk to the government because they play a major role in help pay for it. And so the decision-making process is spread out. And so one, that slows things down, but it's also necessarily a bad thing. When I talk to potential donors about certain ideas I have, just brainstorming, they're very upfront and say, I probably wouldn't pay for that. And I appreciate that frankness. That's what we're there for. And we have some ideas that they're excited about, but we're going to continue to run traps on those to make sure that we have the most sustainable plan. The thing that I'm ensuring as chairman of the board is I want to see a very incremental plan. I do not want to risk a bunch of dollars up front solely to accelerate a grand opening. One thing I'll take responsibility for, we partnered with Planet Aqua Group. Planet Aqua Group did not think that they had doubts about the ability to open up December 31st. The board, because we have our major fundraiser December 31st, the board, including myself, really pushed, say, hey, can we get the work done? We want to get done by 12/31. And that turned out not to work out. And that was on us, not them. And so we've learned our lesson on trying to force things. And there's a lot of pressure and a lot of want to reopen this as soon as possible so the community can enjoy it. But I think it's much more important that we get it right and really slow things down because we have so many different revenue sources and donor sources, so many different moving parts with employees, inventory, maintenance, things like that, that we have to be very, very careful with using our resources in a responsible manner.
In your expression, it certainly show that the board has been diligent in looking at all these aspects of how we can be more efficient and effective in dealing and moving forward with Shreveport, and I appreciate that. And your marketing is up and going strong, you say?
It's getting better. We're doing better at taking advantage of free resources. One, we don't have a full-time marketing person. So essentially it's employees and members of the board who are helping in that in their spare time while also trying to do other things. Taking advantage of things like social media and things like that, remaining engaged, engaging the people that follow you. We're not spending a bunch of money on print advertising or commercials. We just simply don't have the money, and that's not a good use of the limited funds we have right now. We have a generous donor who is paying for Movie Sauce to create a video for us, which we're very excited about. And we're finding things and finding ways that donors can get involved with what they're good at and what their contacts are, so we can take advantage of those resources, both human intellectual capital and financial capital, so we can market and promote ourselves. For example, our educational outreach, very few people knew about that. We didn't have a mechanism to promote that, and we're working really hard to do that. It's just people need to remember we have limited personnel, and call me a curmudgeon, but I'm saying that there's no extra hours and no extra employees until we have the money in place, because I owe it to the organization and to those employees that we encourage to stay to make sure that's sustainable before we hire other people to do that. So we're working on that. It's a work in progress. We certainly welcome input from other people on our marketing, just with the qualification that we do have limited resources.
Thank you. My last question and comment is going to be this. Shreveport is, we have a pretty high poverty level in Shreveport, and some of the potential visitors may not have the resources to assess that. Do you have any plans to see opportunities for young people from disadvantaged households to be able to participate in Shreveport?
Well, here's what we have to be careful of. One, we do get money for Title I students. And so a lot of kids from those communities you just referenced do come in through their schools. However, Shreveport gave very large discounts and let a lot of people in for free when it really couldn't afford to give anything away. And so right now our ticket pricing reflects what it costs to keep that place open. And the only way we can supplant that is with donor dollars. And it has to be predictable too, so we can actually budget and plan on it. I mean, I would love to let in every kid imaginable, but it's a 92,000 square foot facility is very expensive to keep going. It's a lot, but through those programs, and then having having a fundraising or development personnel or a person that can go out and identify the donors that do want to reach. There are donors out there that do want to reach that segment of the population. And we give discount ticket prices in that regard for a large group that may come through, because that large group, you get to a scale of 100, 150 kids, then you're able to cover a lot of the expenses that we're worried about on a daily basis. One thing we're talking about right now, we're only open from Wednesday through Sunday. We would love to be open more, but we're just playing it real slow. And so one thing we talked about on those days we're not open, identifying ways to bring in kids that underprivileged, parents are military or police or firemen, but we just have to do it in a responsible way. We can't go give away the house right now, because when you don't have a lot of money, you can't do that. It's just a fact. And but we'd love to identify donors who are willing to do that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jeff, you had...
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say thanks for coming here. I mean, obviously, I know that y'all have been dealing with a lot as volunteers. Particularly, I know that is something that, the brand of Sci-Port's been around a long time, and I think a lot of people were surprised when they found out that, there were going to be changes going on. I think there was a lot of sort of frustration and thing that goes along with that. And just being a member of this body, I mean, I know that sort of the way that the public communicates and expects information to flow to it has changed so rapidly in recent years. I'm sure that it is not easy to keep up with that. So it is appreciated that y'all are here, obviously, to kind of help us stay informed of what's going on. Certainly, I guess there's some pretty good marketing going on, because my wife took our kids there this weekend. She knew it was open, and they were all excited about it. So I guess the word is out there amongst the moms, at least, and hopefully many others. It sounds like y'all have had good turnout. I know that it is going to be a continued challenge. So please, if y'all can, I would say if there's a way y'all can work with somebody, maybe a public relations group or somebody that, is a contracted person.
Judy Williams has been helping us, a very kind donor, anonymous, who wished to be anonymous, paid for her, and then after that money, she's actually volunteered. She was very pleased with what the board was doing, and has been tremendous.
That'd be great. Just a continued kind of approach to that, because I mean, I noticed y'all have gotten better in recent weeks, and I think that that's going to help, because I think that there's a lot of people in the public whose frustration, or they may say negative things. But really what they're saying is they love Sci-Port and they miss it, but it's coming out as kind of a negative comment, but
Sure.
they really are probably people who could be turned into good partners and supporters, given the right conversation. And I know that's difficult to do in y'all's roles as a limited board, but, if you had somebody that you could partner with to help do that, if you had somebody that could kind of help direct that, as a community, I just think we all have seen the benefit of having a science center locally, and it's something that I think, as a parent, a lot of parents I know have really appreciated having it here over the years, and it's been a real big benefit. And so I think that the community as a large needs to know how they can help, and how they can be supportive, and how they can fit into it, and also how they can stay abreast of what is going on, and kind of have a good understanding in a way that's easy to digest. So thank you for playing a part in coming here and telling us these things, and look forward to continued communication.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted a public forum, so I wanted to keep the council apprised, and this was the best way to do it. One thing I want to mention is, in our attempts to communicate, especially with members, back in September, we sent out an announcement to all of our members, and all the email addresses were screwed up. They bounced back. It was not a good database. So what we've been trying to do since that time, we've created specialized email addresses, which is contact us, give us your contact info, confirm what your membership level is, because right now, all memberships get into POP where that wasn't before, but not all memberships get into IMAX for free. We got to pay royalties on that, so we can't give that away. And so one of the things we've been doing is trying to create a trustworthy database of that data so we can communicate with people. Right now, our best medium is Facebook. That is where we're doing most of that. We're going to try to redo our website. All it takes is money. I have a friend who may try to do it for free. I'm working on him, but it's taking stuff like that at this point. Sure. And the other thing is, to our communication, we want to actually have something to communicate. It was November, December were dark times. We spent all of our time trying to take care of those employees and maintain our jobs. And so that has been, now that barrier has been overcome to a large extent, we're not out of the storm, but now that's freeing us up to do so many more things. And now we're better able to delegate because our employees know what they're going to be doing and things like that. And members of the board who may not have the business or social contacts to go find that whale donor can go do things. It's just, it's really enabled us to do a lot more now. Because if we lost those employees, that would have delayed things by a very long time. Because, like I said, you can't go down to Gene Simpson and say, hey, give me your IMAX operator. Oh, your domed IMAX operator. We're the only one in the state, too. So.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Attorney Lamb, you mentioned two categories. You said donors and members. Can you give us, for those that are here and those that may be listening, those categories and how can they become a donor or a member?
Well, if you want to be a donor, you can talk to me as soon as I leave this podium, or even during, I don't care. Membership's another matter. Memberships, prior to our closing, Soport sold memberships. When I think of it as a season pass, so to speak. And there were a lot of different classes of membership. I'll be honest, I went to school a long time, and it takes some kind of sophisticated algorithm to figure out our pricing and membership prior to September. And so you had different levels, corporate, different levels individual. You can go here, but you couldn't go there. And so those people paid for that. So people that paid for that, and you pay for it, you get 12 calendar months. And so a lot of people paid for that, and when we shut down, they couldn't use it. And so right now, we are honoring all memberships. However, if you had a membership that was POP, the Children's Museum only, it's starting to toll against that 12 months because that is open. However, a lot of people pay for access to the entire facility. So right now, they get membership privileges, but it's not tolling against their 12 months. At this point, we are not selling new memberships. We want to make sure we take care of our prior people first, focusing on what we're doing now, and then we'll move to that. And we also need to have the rest of the facility open before we can do pricing correctly. And keep in mind, right now, our IMAX operator or planetarium guy or exhibits guy is operating a Square device on his iPad, which is how we're charging people to get in. I mean, we are very simple right now, and we aren't adding any kind of special ticketing. We aren't adding any kind of seasonal passes that may increase our administrative burden and jeopardize what we're able to do with our skeleton staff. But donors, we always have a place for them. As long as it's not banned by the federal government of them transferring funds to us, we like all donors.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Fleury.
I got a feeling that Bel Air Noel Bradford will be getting a membership soon.
I think you're right.
Anyone else? Is that it? Thank you so much, Mr.
All right, thank you. I appreciate y'all's time for letting me come here.
We're down to public comment. And we have the following two speakers.
We have one speaker.
Okay.
Is he still here with us? There he is. Bill, if you would. Mr. Weiner.
You got a 2-for-1 today?
Yep.
Okay, but he's going to have his slideshow ready to roll, I'm sure.
This is on something on the agenda.
It is, you can be sure it's on the agenda item. Resolution number 21. The other one is...
Which item am I here to speak on? I put two cards in.
Yes, sir. Got them right here.
What am I supposed to talk about?
You have A&E selection.
Okay, I'll talk about that first. Both issues are good government issues. We're going down a path that's going to lead to more corruption and more patronage. I'm not talking about the present administration or this board. We've got to set up systems to prevent things from happening in the future. The A&E selection for the state of Louisiana was terribly corrupt under Edwin Edwards. A whistleblower let the LAA, Louisiana Architects Association, know. I was on that board. We went to Edwards, we explained it to him, and he established a board to make architectural selections made up of all architects, one from each congressional district. And we made our selections. We always had the Attorney General there. It was open, gave it to the governor. He just did what he wanted. So we then went to the legislature, and they understood it, and it was passed, and it just worked great. What is happening in Shreveport and what is proposed is a big step backwards. You're putting people, selecting architects, engineers, and decorators who have no background. They're political appointees, and we're not getting the results that we should. It's just like, I mentioned it earlier, if you went to Dallas and stomachache, went to emergency room, and they said, oh, you have a tumor, you got to get it operated on, you come back to Shreveport, you don't know who to go to. You wouldn't go to your councilman, you wouldn't go to your banker, your lawyer, you would go to your doctor. And it's the same thing here. We want qualified people by training or education who are licensed and know the rules and regulations and watchdog the people who are making selections, being selected, and it works. And so I'm asking you to throw it all out, what's being proposed, look at what the state's doing, and use it as a model. It's very simple. Thank you. You want me to do the other one now or come back?
No, I want you to do the other one because you got 35 seconds.
Well, I'm not going to do it in 35. They're two distinct things. It's 3 minutes per issue, not 3 minutes per person.
Do you have a choice to use the remaining 24 seconds or not?
I'm not, that's ridiculous.
Okay. That's all we have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We have no executive appointments. There are no items on the consent agenda. Mr. Thompson, please proceed to regular agenda legislation, please.
Resolution 17A ratifies the authorization of the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with Southern Roots Entertainment.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin, second by Councilman Fleury. Any discussion? Please vote.
We vote on this, Jim.
Resolution
17A. 17A.
17A.
Yes, to up the pay.
To do
Or 17, they moved it to consent.
Motion carries to 7.
She moved.
Resolution 22 authorizes the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana to hire professionals in connection with the issuance of not exceeding $120 million water and sewer revenue.
Moved by Councilman Fleury, seconded by Councilman Corbin. Any discussion?
I think that was
I'm sorry,
me.
Councilman Everson.
That works.
That sounded like Councilman Everson, second. Please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Resolution 23 declares the intention of the City of Shreveport, State of Louisiana, to proceed with the issuance of not to exceed $120 million water and sewer revenue bonds.
Moved by
one or more
Councilman
series.
Everson and second by Councilwoman Lynch. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Resolution 24 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Vintage Construction Group, LLC, for the water and sewer mains and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 2, Unit F, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin and second by Councilman Fleury. Any discussions?
I have a question.
Question, Councilwoman Lynch.
Yes. Now, has this area already been annexed?
It's already inside the city limits.
Oh,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is inside?
Yes, it is, and it's in an existing Shreveport neighborhood.
Okay, and what about, can I ask about the other 3 I have?
They
to
are
name?
as well.
25, 26,
Yes, ma'am.
and
Yes.
27?
That's correct.
They are
They're all
Inside.
inside the city limits.
already, okay.
They're
And
just
just-
expanding current neighborhoods.
Just for
Gotcha.
reference, I don't know if you noticed, we had asked earlier this year to have on that, the maintenance costs added on the fact
Yeah, I
sheet.
saw
It's
that.
on there.
Yeah, I
Yes,
saw
thank you.
that. Thank you.
And just as an added comment, all of these facilities will be, all of these amenities will meet standards for the city, water and sewer. Any act that we put on the agenda now will make sure that they meet the city standards, be it streets or water and sewer. So the standards are met, and so we don't have to deal with trying to fix infrastructure when we accept these acts of donations.
Yes, ma'am. Is that it, Councilwoman?
Thank you.
Please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Resolution 25 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the city and Providence Development Company, LLC, for the water and sewer mains and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 3, Unit A, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved. Been moved by Councilman Corbin and second by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Didn't mean that. Pushed the wrong. Motion carries with 7.
What is it, 7-0? Resolution 26 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the city and WIVI Land Development, LLC, for the water and sewer mains and related facilities to serve Lucian Fields Phase 1, Unit A.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Fleury
Second.
and second by Councilman, what was it?
Yes.
Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 out of turn.
Resolution 27 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the city and Reunion Development, LLC, for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Reunion Subdivision Unit
moved.
Number 4.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Been moved by Councilman Fleury and second by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries with 6 and 1 out of turn.
Resolution 28 authorizes the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the city of Shreveport and Coates Bluff, LLC, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Everson, second by the
Yeah, second already.
second by Councilman Fleury.
Now, there, I did see, I think, somebody that was here. Did I see?
He was here,
Okay.
but I don't. Oh, there he is. You're hiding out over
That's
there.
cool. Did I know there were some questions that were, going around on email today? Did anybody have any additional questions, or were those able to be answered already?
No, I don't think they were answered, not completely, and I have to pull up my thing because I'm not real clear on if this is a gratuitous donation of public funds or not. I'm not real clear on that. Because the PILT and the waiver of the fees are two different things. And let's see here.
Cole, just
The
say
PILT
your
agree-
name for the record,
okay.
so you're on.
Yes. Cole Guthrie with UO Coleman Companies, 207 Milam, Shreveport, 71101.
Okay, so the PILT was executed about 4 years ago?
Correct. In 2014,
Okay.
a private developer has put in $2 million of infrastructure of private money into a public roadway. Yes. And what we're asking today is to waive the engineering fees of that construction phase of $62,000.
Okay, so this is not for work that will be done, but this is
It's
work
in
that's already
progress
been
right
done?
now. Yes, ma'am.
Say that again.
Say-
It's in progress.
It is in progress right now. Yes, it's a public road that is being reconstructed right now at this time.
Okay, and why is it being reconstructed?
We had met with the city engineer. It's about a 35-year-old road. It was at the request of Robert Westerman at the time to replace that roadway. The city didn't have the necessary funds at that time, so the private developer is fronting the money with the payment in lieu of taxes with the Shreveport Industrial Board.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so
And so what happens is we have a period of time to be repaid back with a reduction in ad valorem taxes. And so what I did is I amortized the fee, just so you're aware. So we are basically waiving a fee of $62,000. Instead, the city would be paying me back a total of $103,000. So there's basically a $40,000 savings by waiving this fee. I'm not asking the city to pay me back over the period of 22 years. The 22 years is a cap of the reimbursement. We're hoping, obviously, that will be much less based on actual construction dollars that are spent on the city infrastructure.
So they're fronting, the private developer fronts the money to build the city street, and then they're paid back by essentially a abatement of taxes.
It's an abatement of taxes, correct.
That has some set parameters. And so with those parameters, including the cost of the fees over that time that it would be paid back, results in the city paying, what, about $100,000?
Correct, $103,000.
okay, but the road wasn't a part of the PILT originally.
It is. Yes.
You sure?
The road is. The road is, we have an agreement of $1.9 million. The road itself is $1.4 million of that $2 million, yes, of the payment in lieu of taxes.
I don't know if that lease agreement I saw said that.
But so that we're clear, though, what is in front of us, and I have the same
Correct.
challenges.
We're trying to
not
waive.
even talking about
the road's approved.
what's done before.
Correct. So the road itself has been
they're
approved
going
by
back and
we have a
forth.
lease with the Shreveport Industrial Board and Coast Bluff LLC.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
And that lease agreement was contemplated in 2014 when you mentioned
That's
that.
all I
and
had.
the board, kind of met, and they did discuss the road improvement, and I think some lighting improvement
Correct.
that took place. So this permitting issue is a part of the road improvement and lighting improvement.
That's in the 2014.
Well, it's the part of the project itself.
Yeah, but the dollar figure was not 1.9.
There's an amendment. You probably saw there's an original lease agreement of 1.4.
Well, y'all send me all the information I requested.
The amendment was on there.
It was? You sure?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what happened is
What page?
the original agreement was 1.4.
I went to 37 page. I remember it was
There
37
are two
pages.
attachments.
There's two attachments.
Okay, I missed the second one.
Right, and what
Sorry.
happened at that time, at the request of Robert Westerman in the city engineering's office, we were just going to do a partial road replacement, just a certain number of panels, and at that time, 60% of the road needed to be replaced, therefore qualified for the full road replacement. So we had to go back and amend it with the industrial board to the 1.9.
Okay, do we know what the PCI on that road was?
No. And again, before you right now, we're just trying to waive the fee. That's an agreement we
I
have with the Shreveport
understand.
Industrial Board that's already been completed in 2014. So we're here on behalf of the city engineer's office to request a city council legislative order to waive the fees to do the construction. And again, we're trying to make sure that we're not getting a $40,000 of additional money that we don't necessarily need at the request of just the fee.
I'm looking for that PCI. I think we might be able to find that, but again, I don't know that we'd be able to.
Okay, this is the 10-pager. Is the amendment?
Right.
Okay, I didn't. I apologize. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Get a chance to look at that. And that was executed in 2015. Then.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I guess I'm trying to understand at what point. I mean, we're in 2018 now, so that was 3 years ago. So at what point would I'll ask that offline. Never mind. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't here. I guess the discussion was in full yesterday regarding this resolution, but and I didn't hear administrative opinion. Do y'all are we going to realize this benefit in the long run?
You know, I really do not know. I was not a part of the original lease agreement back in 2014, so I don't have all the facts on it now. We did ask Attorney Bradford if he would, investigate and look into this situation. I'm not sure what you found, Attorney Bradford, can you speak to this?
I mean, the pilot value for private developers at $1.9 million. They're going to roll the cost into the longevity of that term. And what his statement is, and I tend to agree with him, is that the cost added on what the city would pay for those in repaying essentially what would be waived today would cost more in the future than it would today. I still have concerns about a little more than just this resolution. This resolution only contemplates waiving those inspection fees. It doesn't discuss the pilot or any of that as it relates to the project. But what you're considering today is the waiver of those fees versus the anticipated cost that would be rolled into his future repayments under the pilot scheme.
And that's my question, is that benefits going to be realized in the way it was explained, in your opinion?
I'm not prepared to answer that today. I haven't looked at real numbers dollar for dollar. Accepting what he's saying is true, yes, it would be beneficial for the city to approve this at this time, but I would need to see the terms of the pilot and also discuss with the IDB's attorney as well as the private developer the actual costs.
And I mean, the discussion is really hedged around the fact that we're going to be getting other ITEPs within this discussion. Now, this is a different. But when we
Nothing
talk,
to do with ITEP.
No. Well, it does have something to do with us waiving fees and allowing taxes to be abated in any form at a time when it's important that we maintain a degree of revenue. So, it may sound like apples and oranges, but in my opinion, that we have to be cautious in doing these things. Okay, I yield.
Isn't that with the Industrial Development Board? Like, I mean,
Correct.
a lot
How
of
is
these,
it with the Industrial Development Board?
like the way I'm looking at it, and like many of us here, I mean, I wasn't involved in the early part of this discussion. It kind of came to me later. So, I mean, I'm kind of more aware about what's on our agenda today than I am about the original tenets of what was agreed to, because it was before the Industrial Development Board. So, I mean, I think it might be appropriate if we got, some further information from them, kind of explaining the history and details of this. But understanding what I understand about what's before us today is basically, I think we're being asked, do we waive a fee and save interest, or do we charge a fee to ourselves essentially and then pay interest on it? And if I'm understanding that correctly, then I think that the benefit is to go with waiving the fee, is the better decision for the city. That's not to say that there's not some continued homework that we might need to do to understand the rest of this deal, and maybe even some further discussion about, how better we might receive information about ongoing deals like this that come from industrial development boards or other boards that may affect our tax base. I mean, certainly it's something that I think could be relevant with that committee we discussed setting up. Maybe they could look at not just ITEP type applications, but maybe they could be a committee that sort of oversees and communicates to the full council a little bit more, kind of a thorough discussion of what kind of economic development programs are going on in our community, how those impact our budget, that type of thing. So certainly I think it's a relevant time, and I see the connection that they're mentioning. I'm not sure I see an immediate solution to it right now, but I do think as we're developing a committee, maybe that's an appropriate place for that committee to kind of look into those things deeper and share it with the rest of us.
Councilwoman Lynch still has the
Well,
floor.
did I still have the floor?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
started talking while I had the floor.
You gave us the button, and you hit the button again.
Oh, okay.
You got to start the phone.
I'm on second round.
Okay, I would say the discussion of the initial pilot program is absolutely in the same vein as any other tax abatement. Okay. But that is not at all what is being considered here. I mean, unless there's some other part of this that I don't see, this, from a financial perspective, would almost be foolhardy not to pass this. We would be essentially charging ourselves interest on a loan we've given to somebody else. I mean, that's
correct.
And that is what we're talking. I mean, if there's anything to this beyond that is being considered, I'm not aware of it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be prudent on any tax relief we give, but in this case, it's not really it doesn't have anything to do with tax relief other than the program in which it's supporting. So I think there's a bigger issue here, but I don't want that to weigh in on what we're doing here in front of us with this vote, because
Correct.
it truly is not
That's awesome.
relevant. So, anyway, I just strongly urge us to vote yes for this and move on.
Councilwoman Lynch.
Well, let me say that it's all relevant. It's all relevant because I'm looking at it comprehensively. How did we get to where we are today? I think that's important, and to understand that. This is a public body, and what we do, as I said yesterday, should be very transparent, and it should be clear. And so, whatever those questions or concerns, that the council member has, let alone the public, they're just hearing it today. So, if you just have a little patience here to make sure we're clear on everything, at least I am, for the 30,000 people I represent. So, let me understand. I understand the IDB part, Mr. CAO. I understand the IDB part, but when that changed to decide to add the road, at what point does the council, because I'm assuming the administration knew that Robert had, said, okay, out of all the roads in Shreveport, this one needs something else done to it. But at what point, if something changes, is the council made aware of that?
Yeah, as the mayor said, this precedes this administration.
Well,
deal was
the
done in
addendum was
2014.
done in
Understand
2015,
that.
in March of 2015.
But the deal with the IDB was already done. They had already
Right.
received the pilot. The only thing that was changed in the addendum was the terms of the 20 years going to 22 years, the 25% repayment on top of what the unimproved portion was.
Okay,
That was it.
okay.
So it was going to go forward one way or the other with the original IDB improvement or with the amendment.
Okay, but the amendment still impacted the city, I guess is what I'm
They
saying.
both impact the city.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So when the amendment came after we were in, then how does that get communicated to the administration and to the council?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I think that may be kind of a breakdown there, and I'm not sure how we fix that. Okay? Coming from the IDB, when something changes, after, once we're aware of it, okay? Now, the 69,000, and I'm looking at the breakdown on the addendum that I was sent, where do I find that at? Where do I find, do you know?
I think it's on the second page.
I'm on page 8 now.
I
Am
think it's is it a up to 69? I think it's a up to 69, because I think it's a permit that's based on the actual cost of a project. And so I think that the legislation anticipates kind of what the high-end
Up
cost
to.
is, just so it can have some flexibility. But I think that from what I just heard, I think I heard a number of 62 thrown out that may be closer to their actual costs. And so I think that's just a factor of how permit cost
Yeah,
is
the original
determined.
the original IDB contract had not to exceed 1.2 million.
Right.
The addendum had a 1.97.
And then it went to 1. Correct.
1.975.
And you're
That's
saying it's
not
a
to exceed.
percentage of that amount?
Oh, but Brian, I think what Councilwoman Lynch is asking is the permit fee being mentioned as 69,000 in the legislation. Yeah, it's the permit fees. If I remember correctly, was it like a 3 to 4% of?
It's 4.5% of the construction contract.
Okay.
Of the 1
Of the
point,
construction contract. This is a building permit.
okay.
So it's 4.5% of $1.39 million is the road construction contract.
Because that's only a portion of...
That is only a portion. That does not include the lights, and there's a drainage project that is being done as well. And obviously, there's attorney's fees associated with that. It's on the last page of the amendment, too.
Okay, is this page
But again,
8? I'm looking at a breakdown where it has professional fees, engineering fees,
Correct.
permitting, et cetera, is $120,000.
Correct. Again, that was an estimate prior to all of this being produced.
Okay.
Again, we can only be reimbursed over that term over actual dollars spent. If it's 1.4 million, that's what we're reimbursed over that period of time, that the private developer is loaning that $1.5 million. And today, what's in front of you, obviously, is the fee. Again, we just don't, as a private developer, we don't think it's necessary to charge the city and the taxpayers. You know, we're going to pay $62,000 in return. You're going to pay me $104,000. I just don't see that as doing good business. I think kind of what Mr. Jenkins has alluded to.
And that's what's before us right now, right?
That's all that we're voting on.
That's all you're voting on today is I'm going to give you, again, $62,000, and in return, you're going to give me $104,000. Again, I just don't think that's good business.
And like I said, I mean, I think what we're discussing is this sort of bigger picture.
Right.
It deserves additional discussion of just how some of these moving parts work. But today, what's before us is just
the
the fee
permit fee.
waiver.
Correct.
I mean, if y'all are comfortable, I'd like to call for the question. We have a motion in a second.
Question been called.
Please vote. Motion carries 6-1.
Resolution number 30 authorizes 5935 Buncombe Road to make a connection to the city of Shreveport's water and sewer system.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion?
Wait a minute, did we vote on that, or we just voted on calling for the question?
No, the question.
The question was,
I know, well, what did we vote on?
We voted on.
Are we on resolution 28?
We're now on,
we're on 30.
we're on 30. We voted no on 28.
Oh, we didn't vote on calling for the question, is what you're saying.
Yes.
We voted on the motion.
We voted on the
Okay, gotcha.
Who we waiting on?
Everson and Councilwoman Lynch.
And this is on the
30.
Buncombe Road, right? Okay. Yeah.
Motion carries with 7.
Resolution 31 authorizes the mayor to execute an act of release on a utility servitude in the Southern Trace Phase 4, Section 20A subdivision.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Corbin and seconded by Councilman Everson. Any discussion? I'm sorry, Councilman Fleury, not Everson. I got to speak up. I can't hear.
Going into somebody else's district there. I mean, you should see the way that went yesterday. Taking your chances there.
Please vote.
Hold on a moment now. Getting kind of crazy out there on the left today.
Motion carries with 7.
Resolutions 32 and 35 have been adopted. We are now on the introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to March the 27th. There are 2. Resolution 33 authorizes the execution of a cooperative endeavor agreement with Red River Employees Federal Credit Union. And Resolution 34 adopts a system survey and compliance questionnaire required by the Legislative Auditor's Office of the State of Louisiana.
Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved to introduce.
Moved by Councilman Corbin and seconded by the chair. Please vote.
Councilwoman Lynch.
Motion carries with 7.
We're now in the introduction of ordinances. Ordinance 22 amends the 2018 capital improvements budget. Ordinance 23 amends the 2018 budget of Streets and Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 24 enlarges the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport for the Long Lake Estates Unit Number 23 subdivision development in Section 28 Township, 16 North, Range 13 West in Caddo Parish. Ordinance number 25 amends the 2018 Airport Enterprise Fund budget. And Ordinance 26 amends the 2018 Capital Improvements budget.
Motion introduced.
Second, yes.
Seconded by the chair. Motion by the vice chair, seconded by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carried with 7. Mr. Thompson, please proceed with the ordinance on second reading and final passage.
The first is ordinance number 9 that amends and reenacts certain provisions of Chapter 26, Article 6, Division 3 of the Code of Ordinances of the city relative to architectural and engineering services.
So moved to postpone, if I may.
And I second.
We move by
To the next meeting date or a date certain?
Next meeting date. Fine. And let me just say for public comment, so I have been taking some input from architectural and engineering community on kind of their perspective on this. I'm hoping we had a meeting with the various communities, and I'm going to say the organization AIA, associations and engineer associations. And they have some, I'm going to say, a collective suggestion that they're kind of fleshing out at the moment. And when I get that feedback, I would bring it back here and present it as potentially an amendment or something for us to discuss in that domain. So it may be ready as soon as 2 weeks. It may be a month, but postponing it 2 weeks would be my motion.
Been moved by Councilman, been moved by the vice chair and seconded by Councilman Fleury.
Sounds good to me.
If there's no other discussion, please vote.
So this is postponed to the
To
27th?
postpone to the 27th.
Who was that seconded by?
Councilman Fleury.
Okay.
And that motion carries with 7.
Ordinance number 16 amends the 2018 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget.
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Councilwoman Lynch and seconded by Councilman Everson. Councilman Everson. No discussion, please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Ordinance number 17 closes and abandons the street dedication in Lot 18 of the Nicholas subdivision. I believe the administration wants to table this matter.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Second.
It's been motion by the chair, seconded by the vice chair. Please vote. To postpone.
A motion to table.
To table, I'm sorry.
I want to ask why, but I'm scared.
What do we?
In district.
Table ordinance 17.
Motion is to table.
Can I ask Chairman Bowman?
There are some indiscrepancies there, and I want to check on something with the.
Okay.
Okay.
I gotta ask.
I think the vote was unanimous.
Okay. 7.
Ordinance number 18 revises certain provisions of Chapter 10 of the City of
So
Shreveport.
moved.
Been moved by Councilwoman Lynch and seconded by Councilman Fleury, but we have some discussions and.
Oh, we were just, I'll be honest, we voted on so many Chapter 10 things that I've read this, and I'm like, I don't remember if there were some things that were different from the previous thing or not. So I guess that was what I had just asked Karen. And I think if I could just be more direct about it, I think what I'm asking is, are there changes to the permit fees? I think that, certainly I've read the current document, but my memory is having a hard time comparing it to the previous document. Because some of those
permit types have changed.
The
So
permits are set by state.
Okay.
So those are consistent with what the state suggests.
Cool. I'm good then. That answers my question.
Now, that's only for the permits fees, okay? Okay.
As opposed to the
Application.
Right. And, but no, that still answers,
That answers
my
okay.
question. Did y'all, we have additional questions, or are we good? Okay.
Wonder what about a week?
Motion carries with 7.
Ordinance 19 amends various articles and sections of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Everson. No,
No, Councilman Corbett, seconded by Everson.
y'all talking too low.
Nope, they didn't want to talk loud on the UDC.
There's a lot.
Been
This
moved
is a
by
tough
Councilman
one to really
Corbin,
know.
second by Councilman.
Taking it a little bit. There's a lot involved in that. A lot of administrative little type of language change.
We're waiting on Everson and Florida. Motion carries with 7. Please proceed.
Ordinance number 20 is a zoning matter, case number C-2-18. It rezones property located on the north side of Claiborne Avenue between McWillie Avenue and Mark Street from I-2 Heavy Industrial District and R2 Multi-Family Residential District to IMU Industrial Mixed Use District.
So moved.
Second. It's moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Corbin. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Ordinance 21 is a zoning matter in case number C-6-18. It rezones property located on the west side of Airport Drive, approximately 300 feet east of Jack Wells Boulevard, from C4 Heavy Commercial District to I2 Heavy Industrial District.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Councilman Bradford and seconded by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries with 7.
Mr. Chairman, those are all of the items on the regular agenda. I'm not aware of any matter on the table agenda to be removed at this time.
Okay.
All of the appeals were handled yesterday.
And any other reports from officers or boards or committees?
No, but I'd like to commend our august clerk for fixing the
Mr.
clock.
Chairman, that
He
was
really
going to be
did
my
an
report.
excellent job. See, I wanted to prevent him from I'd like him to come up with new material. And when I force feed it the day before, I just wanted to make sure that he was, properly, recognized for his effort, but I'm looking for something more for next week if possible.
I'm afraid he may be on vacation today.
Wasn't that last week?
Week before.
Sorry.
Every day but Monday and Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. On the our actual committee thing, I am looking for a date for Riverfront B4 for that civic appropriations discussion. If y'all could check your calendars. Really, I'd like to do it as soon as we can. If Thursday or Friday works for anybody of this week. I think kind of a midday, early afternoon time frame, we might be able to get through it. We do not have a tremendous number of applications, so it will not be like a 4-hour meeting or anything. Like it should be an hour and a half. Should get us through everything. So if y'all could look at some dates, I'll send out a date to tomorrow morning, or and we'll get that set. Thank you.
Okay. I think we did set a date for the intergovernmental meeting.
April 13th.
On the 13th.
So April 13th?
April 13th.
So not the 23rd was the other potential date, but not that. Yeah.
April 13th at
11:30.
11:30 a.m. April 13th. Making sure we got it. And I will have, by the next meeting, I have that, the new committee we were talking about, the Economic Development Committee. I have that ready for the next meeting. And if there's no one else, then we have Mr. Thompson said he had a close report today.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the official clock has the correct time.
The official clock has what?
Correct time.
According to...
That's the official council time.
Oh, council time, okay. Okay, yeah, that's right, okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, do you have any additional communication?
Nothing else, thank you.
Any other council member have any other additional communication?
I do. And a couple things that I don't necessarily want, I mean, I'd love to hear the police department or whoever's handled this accident involving the duck pond. That's getting a fair, and what I'd like to use this opportunity is somebody from the police department or the fire, whoever knows the most about it, to kind of give us a kind of a brief overview so we could clear up some of the discussion that's out there about what has transpired.
Sure.
And then, secondly, I understand there's been some, significant acts by some of our citizens in helping some people in that regard that I'd love to see ultimately recognize those people at a future date. I'm not expecting that at this time, but I think we should certainly consider that. And then kind of number 3 on the list is from a traffic engineering perspective and police, if there is really a role for us to do something to prevent this, whether that be barriers in the turn or what, a full assessment of the issue. Because I'm not saying there is or there isn't, but I certainly don't want it just to be armchair quarterbacked out there in the public domain without subject matter experts looking into it. So, thank you.
Absolutely, and that investigation is very much ongoing at this hour, and certainly our crash investigators, and those are our detectives who investigate fatality crashes. They are actively working this case, and I don't think at this point that they have made a determination definitively what was a causal factor for the crash. Obviously a tragic event, and hopefully we will know soon what their belief is relative to how this occurred and the facts that set this forth into motion.
Okay, and can you give us just of the, I guess, public details on it, or what is out there, what do we know or that we can say at the moment?
And I don't think they're willing to rule anything out at this point. And crash reports are a little bit different. They're actually exempted from the public records laws. There's certain folks that we can release preliminary information to, family members, those folks who are actually listed on the crash report, as well as media outlets. But beyond that, at this point, I would be concerned. I wouldn't want to put out anything that was inaccurate or not exactly where we want to be. So I think it would probably be premature at this point to talk about causal factors.
But one of the things we may want to remind the public is, obviously right now is a great time to recognize those members of our public who were the Good Samaritans who stepped up to help, and that's such a fortunate thing for our community to have people like that. But it's maybe not the best time to be talking about what caused or led to this until they've had the opportunity to really do the research. And, out of respect to that family, I would hope we would give them the time to do that. And I know that
that is not exact. Yes, I'm not looking for the cause. I'm just looking for
I know that. I think I'm trying to just make sure that that we encourage people to be patient while the investigation happens, to make sure that we do right by those people who experience this tragedy and find out what led to it before we jump to conclusions.
And that's going to be part and parcel of that investigation, is gathering all that witness information, as well as those folks who put their own lives at peril to go in that water last night. So once this whole thing is wrapped up and completed, we will have all that information, and I can assure you that we're going to make sure that those folks are recognized appropriately for their actions that they took last night. And certainly any recommendations that we have, we work with Shelley and Chief Crawford and Mayor Tyler relative to any sort of improvements that could be made potentially. But again, at this point, we're still actively looking into this matter to make a determination what happened.
By the way, was there a press release at all on this?
Nothing.
Not from city administration.
Yes, we typically, on every fatality crash, we do put out a press release, and we work with the coroner's office as well. And in the past, they have been the entity that actually releases the victims' names. But we do put out a press release just very broadly, time, location, and just a very broad set of factors.
Okay, and if you send it to me, I apologize, but I'd love to have it resent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And the police did do the press release, and I think they're on it.
Well, I normally am, and I may have.
Yeah, they did do one.
I don't know when it came in, so it came in this morning. Okay, so maybe I haven't seen it.
Some people got wiped out. Did Angie send it?
Got it. That's it. Councilman.
That's all I have.
Councilwoman Lynch.
Oh, I wanted to, I'm still interested in getting responses to my questions on Resolution 28. Okay. I don't know who was going to respond.
Our office will respond.
Okay, all righty. 'Cause I know we kind of, I don't want to say railroaded through it, but I still have some questions about it. Because I'm still not convinced that it's not gratuitous at this point. And so, if I can get the additional information that I requested, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Council, is that it, Councilwoman? Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of items. To administration, I submitted some requests for service requests through the council office. Some of those have not been addressed, and I will resubmit them. And hopefully this time we can get them done.
As soon as we get to them, if we got them, I know our folks are looking at them.
Well, one in particular was the cleaning out of the ditches in the MLK area. I gave you several streets, and I went through there today, and they was not done.
We'll follow up with public works on it.
I'm sure he has it on the list, but we'll take care of it.
And my other statement, and I don't know, I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it again, that Shreveport is made up of different communities, and within our communities, we don't see Shreveport as it is. We see Shreveport as we are, and I'm getting some very bad vibes regarding those citizens who call themselves, I guess, distinguished citizens who are on social media opposing the April 28 tax renewal. And I don't understand how you could care for Shreveport and not want to see us maintain the services that we provide this city. It doesn't matter who the mayor is. It doesn't matter who council. It doesn't matter. All what matters is what's good for Shreveport. And they're categorizing this as in different phases, different ways. It's not a renewal. It's a new tax. And my driving license expired last year. I didn't know it until 2 months later, and I went to the DMV to get my license. renewed, and I got them renewed while they had expired. I got them renewed. I didn't go and take all these tests to get new license. And this is a renewal. And I'm encouraging my district, my residents, to categorically and unequivocally support this renewal. It means that we can maintain services that they expect and would be accustomed to receiving. And if we're going to move beyond partisanship and creating a Shreveport that all of us can embrace, we're going to have to work together and certain things. I think this council have been very prudent in working together over the last 3.5 years. I'm proud of this council work. And I'm only using as a standard the previous council work.
Anything would be an improvement.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted the mayor to know, and I'm encouraging all citizens and our council members as well. Don't be bashful. Be in one of John Settl's emails, he said, it's time for the council to man up. He was talking about a different thing, though. but let's man up and let's make this happen. Let's not woman up too.
You read John Settle email?
Oh, I love John Settle. In fact, I get two. I get one on this email and one on that email.
I get 4. You get
I
2 on 2 and 2 on the other one. So I
don't know how he set them out, but yeah. But anyway, this is a very serious undertaking, and I know
absolutely
the mayor's out working, and let's be leaders and lead in this endeavor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Madam Mayor, would you like to come in?
I would like to just piggyback actually on Councilman Bradford's comments about the tax renewals, continuations, whatever people would like to call them. I do want to say thank you, Councilman Bradford, for your strong support. Back in 2013, when we had this same situation, back in 2008, and back in 2003, after the taxes expired the previous year, we call them renewals. I guess I'm baffled by the change in the language today. But they are continuations. They're not new taxes. And I have been out there beating the bushes, so to speak, and asking people to please know that these are for basic services. We are making progress, but we need the renewals to happen so that we can continue that progress. Thank you.
And I think also maybe to the point about, I've seen some of this discussion about as a renewal or a continuation, but I mean, I think to be very clear, there has not been a period that has passed yet where someone could be charged for these that they weren't charged for them. It's not like these were gone for an entire year and now they're being asked to be.
It's not a lapse, yeah.
This year, at the end of the year, is when taxes are charged.
Absolutely.
So this is the chance to decide if you want to pay those or not for these services. The other thing that I think really I like about this type of a vote of the public, a vote of our citizens, this money is dedicated. It must be spent on what their ballot says. So this is really a great chance for people who say they want some control of where their tax dollars are spent. This is where you can tell us exactly how they should be spent. At an election when they are voting on a ballot, it's specific to some degree about what that is going to be used for. So I mean that is an opportunity for citizens to come out and show what they support. And I look forward to seeing their support. These are essential things, but
the challenge is going to be, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
That's our Councilman Bradford.
I mean, and I'm very optimistic, but as a realist, if something ever occurs that this doesn't happen, the challenge is going to be for the administration is where do we cut services?
That's correct.
And we don't need to put ourselves in that predicament, you know. And like I said earlier, you know, I mean, not to embrace this in a positive way and move forward is akin to, you know, cutting our nose off to spite our face. When we know we need this revenue, and we need to continue to grow and provide services for our citizens, and our citizens not to do this because they don't like somebody, or they don't think that we're doing our due diligence with their tax dollars is not true, and this can't be, you know, this cannot be unexpressed that we are and have been over this council and this mayor administration has been very, very prudent in our tax responsibilities. So we almost got 30, 45 days. We got 45 days out, and I'm beating the bushes. And you say you're beating the bushes?
Oh yes, sir.
Okay.
We are woman, not man enough, but we're woman enough. Okay.
It's important. It's that important. And I don't want to be repetitious in saying this, but it's that important to me because I don't want to see us going backwards.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Seeing no other councilman, Madam Mayor, that was it. You had anything else?
Thank you, sir.
We're down to public comment.
Okay. Why don't we let Mr. Charles Williamson come and speak about the Boy Scouts fundraiser.
Charles might be in the back.
Here he comes. He's taking off one hat and put on another one.
Oh, that's Charles.
He's regular at this specific.
Yeah.
Look behind the scenes.
Charles Williamson, 8621 Chalmette Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana. Reason I'm here is just want to plug the Boy Scout troop. I've been doing Boy Scouts for many, many years. This Saturday, Portico Shopping Center, from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we will be doing our annual fundraiser. We don't do fundraisers every month. We do one thing for the year. We're done. We're selling chicken dinners. $6 to get you half a chicken, beans, bag of chips, and a slice of bread. And I also want to point out that I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but when we do the Scouting for Food drive, our troop by itself picked up over 13,000 pounds of canned and boxed goods. So come out and see us. We'll be there Saturday, rain or shine.
What time is that again?
Anytime between 10 and 5 o'clock.
Since you live in my district, I'll commit to 10 tickets, and I don't know, Lord, how many Mr. Bradford's would buy.
Well, come out and see us. We'll be there. There'll be a bunch of us there starting at 5 a.m. working, getting everything set up.
It was pointed out to me that not everybody knows where Portico is.
Portico is at the corner of Uri Drive and Burcoons. Right there
If you're
between
65,
Carter's.
you know where it is. That's where all the doctors are.
There's a large employer across the street.
You won't be able to miss us. We'll be between Porter's Cleaners and Partner's Barbecue. We take up a good section of the lot. So just follow the smoke.
I want to match Councilman Florida. Can we pay in advance and they be ready when we show up?
We're going to have dinners cooking all day long. That's why we're going to be getting there at 5 a.m.
I want to make sure that.
We're donating 292 dinners to different charities around town. So,
Got some good cooks.
well, we've been doing this. I've been doing it for 15 years, so I haven't had any complaints. All right, come back and see us. Thank you.
Thank you.
The moment we've all been waiting for, Mr. Sammy Mears. Or at least one has been waiting.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport 71101. He wants to talk about the bird. I'm going to talk about soup. There are 2 more soup lunches left at the Church of the Holy Cross, $5 at 11 a.m. until March 21st. With dessert, ice water, coffee, and crackers. So if you'll come, this would really be appreciated. So everyone here, Arthur, Jacqueline, Tanya, Mayor Tyler, and Brian, who disappeared. Anyway, everyone is welcome to come. If you haven't been there yet, you're welcome to come. Now, I want to talk about something else for a moment. I want to talk about the kids who are imitating this man called Nicholas Cruz. He is not a role model. He's a sicko, dancing with donkeys for all I care. Both Parkway and Magnolia School of Excellence have had 2 dealings with this ridiculous and inappropriate nonsense last week, and it seems like they've been making school threats, and this really needs to stop, and they don't need to be imitating this man. Somebody said today that they think that Nicholas Cruz is far out. Well, I hope he stays there, because that's where he needs to be, far out. The people at the school, they just need to get the kids out, because, see, this situation could have been avoided last week. They need to start learning to get the kids out of the school and onto the school ground. Because, see, when they were in the building, the teachers and the parent people over there, they didn't handle it right. They should have gotten the kids out of the building onto the ground for safety purposes, because that's what a safety planning commission should be doing. And they were very upset about this. They didn't handle the situation right, and they need to do that from now on. It's just a wonder why the parents on television were so mad that the kids had to be the ones to do the contacting and not the teachers and the faculty. And that's what really burned my dander. So what they need to do is to get this situation correct. If the situation happens again, they need to get them out of the building onto the school ground for safety purposes. They don't need to keep them in the building. What if there was an actual bomb? It could have been really bad. And remember, 11 a.m., $5 soup lunch, dessert, ice water, crackers, and coffee tomorrow and March 21st. And I heard, I think, a cell phone dog barking earlier, and when I said don't be no fool, somebody behind me laughed.
That concludes our public comments for today.
That's it. Okay. Well, if nothing else, I know that I've got a few. I just want to say I have been getting a few phone calls and emails about certain things with MPC and a little over A&E. I just think that whatever it is we have to that's thought of being addressed with the MPC, that we need to address that and move on. We have been focusing too much time and energy toward both of the two, and I really think more so towards MPC. I just think that my thoughts, just my thoughts. You don't burn down the whole house to kill a roach, and I think we're just after one particular deal here. So that's my opinion, and you know, we drag people through the mud for certain things, and I just call it like I see it, and I excuse my language. That's what I had to say on that. If anybody has anything else they need to speak of, if not, this meeting is adjourned.